Hey, it's Greg Otten here with MaritimeGardening.com. It's Saturday morning and I thought I'd just do a sort of odds and ends type video. I got some stuff I got to get out of the ground here. We had a really cold week this week and it was like -10, -20 with the wind chill certain evenings. So the ground's frozen, and once again I got to bust some carrots and parsnips out of the ground. I'm going to show you some different things I did to keep the ground from freezing here and how they worked, and then show you what happens when you don't do those things and you're not proactive and you got all these parsnips frozen in the ground. I think I'm going to show you the gardens I mulched and how they're not frozen. I'm going to take you in the garage and show you the vegetable storage operation, show how I store these things in cardboard boxes and all I really do to put them down for the winter, and walk you through some of that. So just some odds and ends, and just give you a sense of how I do all this sort of stuff and what a Saturday morning could be like for me if I'm outside dealing with the garden. So come along. Alright, it's quite windy, so hopefully the noise isn't too bad, but here's the garden where I've harvested all the parsnips here, but these ones are still in the ground. Now, just using this pointy stick as a gauge, right? The ground here is frozen. There, I got through. So I'd say, what would that be? I'd say it's frozen down 4 inches, right? And then it gets soft again. So it's frozen down at least 4 inches. I'll get at this with a pickaxe and do a sort of sped up thing just to show that process of pickaxing parsnips out of the ground, but that's frozen. I'll go over here where I did what I should have done for the whole garden. I only had so many, I pick up about 3 bags a day in my car when it's not too wet and I can put them in the car, and I used them over here. So over here, see that one right in? Right. There's no freeze at all, even though it was -20. I mean, if it stayed -20 day after day after day after day after day, unless I had a ridiculous amount of leaves on here, it would start to freeze, yes. But anyway, you go anywhere along here, it's not frozen yet, right? We've got a garden over here with just a little bit of seaweed. Even that bit of seaweed seems to have done a lot. So these parsnips here, this was mulched. It's thinned out considerably, right? And this is higher up, right? This is raised, right? Whereas that's at grade, right? So the garden at grade takes longer to freeze than the raised bed, right? Because this is more exposed in a sense, even though it's south facing. I find the raised ones seem to freeze up before the ones that are at grade. And there is mulch here, but most of the mulch broke down over the summer, right? Whereas this mulch was sort of reapplied when I planted the strawberries, so it's got a bit more mulch. So anyway, it's still there's a bit of frost there, but it's not as deep. Here's one where I added a bit more mulch. Let's see. And seaweed's not a very good insulator, but still, it's frozen in places and thawed in places, this one here. Over here where we got leaves, thawed. No issues yet. All right. Let's check over here where we got grass clippings. Right? Someone mentioned, oh, that's just going to break down. Dude, it ain't going to break down over the winter, okay? I mean, I got leaves under this cardboard, and I imagine there's not going to be much going on underneath here in February and January, but there will be some breakdown there because I'm sort of holding the heat in. But here, I'm not holding nothing in. Anyway, this is still not frozen, right? This fluffy, like the guest I had on my podcast, Lee Reich says in his books, the fluffy stuff seems to do wonders to keep things from freezing. See, that's not frozen at all. That's like 3 inches of grass clippings. I hope it didn't. I got garlic planted in there. I hope it didn't spear any garlic. Now there's nothing planted here. Same thing, no freeze at all, right? So as long as you get something, and so you notice the grass clippings and the leaves are much better than the seaweed, right? Because it's fluffier. It traps little pockets of air and just makes a good insulator. Raised bed kale here. That's not frozen. The grass over here, but this grass has been on since July, so it's not very thick. That's frozen. See, there's a raised bed, and I put this grass on in July, so a lot of it's broken down. There's less than an inch. Even though this bed looks well mulched, there was like less than an inch of mulch there. That's just what's left. When I put it on, it might have been 3 or 4 inches deep in July, and it's almost all gone now. Anyway, kale's still viable. Still pulling kale. It's really not growing, but it's still good. And this kale was frozen so hard. I came out and got some after work on I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, and it didn't break off. It smashed off. Right? It was just like it had been dipped in liquid nitrogen. It just smashed into the bowl. And now it's around 9 o'clock in the morning. It's above zero. It's around zero right now, but it's soft and pliable and alive. It's just an amazing plant. Its ability to freeze and thaw out and so on. And really, the kale is harvestable, and you can leave it out here as long as it's thawing out every day or every other day, right? If it stays frozen day after day after day, the plant will stop circulating water through it itself, and the leaves will just dehydrate and get like cardboard and be no good. But this is still, I don't know that it's growing that much, but it's maintaining and still harvestable. And this time of year, the kale tastes so good because it seems to get better when it's cold. Something happens to it. Perhaps it stores more sugar in the leaves to protect it from the cold, and that's what makes it taste good, would be my guess. But man, it tastes a lot better. Anyway, let's go back here and get these parsnips out of the ground. Alright, so I thought I'd do a voiceover here and just walk you through my process of how I did that. So the parsnips are planted in rows from front to back, and here I am using the thinner end of the pickaxe to bust in and pry up the ice on either side of the row, right? Trying, because you don't want to break the parsnips and smash them, right? Because you want them to store. You have to keep them, so you got to be kind of careful and look where things are. And that's one more good reason to plant things in rows if you're in this situation. So I'm just working down either side of the row, and it gets easier as you go. Initially, it's almost impossible to get anything happening. So you got this, I've got like a piece of frost with parsnips sticking in it. I tried using a peg there, but that was kind of stupid. It doesn't really work. It's better to just bang it upside down over a log or something like that, and you'll find it'll tend to break where the parsnips are in there. You got to use a bit of force. And this is all a lot harder than just if I dug them a week ago. It would have been dead easy. But anyway, that's seems to be just a recurring thing I do. Here's just a shot of the how much of it's frozen. It was frozen about anywhere from 2 to 3 to even 4 inches thick in places. Depends on where you get it from and just unique conditions in each spot. Anyway, that's the process. Bust it out, bust it up. Break the parsnips out of that, trying to be as gentle as you can be without them, because you want them to store. You don't want to bruise them, right? And that whole bed probably took me, I don't know, 30 minutes. The remainder after this little bit I did in the filming here, it took about another 30 minutes, so I'd say 40 minutes all in to get that out, right? And probably took 2 or 3 times as long as it would have taken if I just done it a week ago, and it probably took about 4 times the energy. So not very bright. Alright, so you get the idea. Not easy. They say that lottery is a tax for people that can't do math, and pickaxing parsnips out of a garden at the end of November because the garden's frozen is exercise for people that don't understand how cold it gets. I did get everything. I got a lot of parsnips this year. Just left it 1 week too late, but I always do that, so it's just part of my process, I guess. I got some carrots over here. Let's have a look at these. I tried a little. I was proactive with them. Let's see if it worked. So I got a, I don't know, 4x4 garden here, which I grew some carrots in last year. They were the short, I can't remember, maybe Nantes Scarlet. I can't recall. Anyway, a week ago, the outer edge of this slightly raised bed. The outer 8 inches was frozen, but the inner bit wasn't. The easiest thing to do would have been to cover everything with leaves, but I got these plastic rectangle things. So I thought I'd put the plastic over top and see if I could thaw it out a little bit and just see how it would perform, given that I knew there was a cold week coming. So, my goodness, we've got a pretty big piece of ice on this thing here. Let's see here. Woo, that is a lot of ice. Oh. Let's see. Look at that, the outer. So the inside, it's thawed in the middle here. I left this middle row. But the outside, despite having that on top, it's actually not that bad. It's workable. Camera's breaking off. Definitely not optimal. I just broke one there. Let's see, let's bring this bowl over here. Yeah, so I mean, it's been cold, right? Anyway, it's coming out okay. Seems like that plastic did do the trick here. These have to come out, right? As lots of people say, just put a whole bunch of leaves and hay over it and you can leave them out there all winter. Yeah, that's true. If you have enough, depending on how cold it is you get where you are, and also how wet it can get in the winter. If you're in a place that doesn't get a ridiculous amount of rain in the winter, that probably works better than here. Because it only has to be below 0 for the ground to freeze. And if it's, here it can get to -10 or -20, but then the next week it can get to above 0 and rain. So the soil's perpetually getting saturated with water, and then it's getting frozen again, right? So a lot of those things that work sort of inland, where they don't get as much rain as here, don't seem to work in this location. But if you're somewhere where that works, I've read about that technique, covering everything with a big pile of leaves or something like that. I've tried it here, and I've had mixed results with it. For me, it just seems to be a lot easier to harvest everything, put it in cardboard boxes and put it in my garage. If you have a cold room, put everything in the, I use my garage like a cold room in the winter because it functions like that. If you have a cold room, use a cold room. Why do you want to come out here in the dead of winter to get carrots when you can just go downstairs, right? For me anyway, or if you have a root cellar, why not just bring everything to one location? That works for me. I'm not eating these, dipped in goop in the winter. I cook them, right? So it doesn't matter that they're not pristine. They taste better than anything you can buy anyway. Anyway, this seems to have worked. I won't put you through the process of harvesting them all, but these all are coming out today, and that's why I'm taking them out and not leaving them in under a mound of hay, all right? And here in my garage, just putting these parsnips in storage. People asked me about this process, so I thought I'd speak to it. My garage right now is it's 5 degrees right on the button, so it's basically refrigerator temperature, so it's perfect. And all I do with these parsnips, I really don't clean them, right? You sort of want to, this is just you don't want to leave the green tops on. But it's okay if there's a bit of dirt. You don't want to leave clumps of wet stuff on there, but so you want them a little bit dry. But just sort of, I'll show you. But you just stagger them in a cardboard box. And the cardboard box will control the humidity to a certain extent, stabilize the humidity. So it'll almost be like a like a temporary root cellar, not too wet, not too dry, right? Just right, which is what you want. And I just layer them in. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. camera wrong angle. I had to film this indoors because it's just so unbelievably windy outside. You never heard a word I was saying. Okay. You put a tier like that. See how they're sort of, you know, staggered? Then you just get a piece of cardboard that's about the right size. And put that on top. Cut that to size. Doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it works. Close enough is good enough, as I always say. Right. And the reason you're putting the cardboard in there is that it just seems to even out the humidity, keeps it not too wet, not too dry. Right? And you just keep stacking them like that until you're near the top, and then you put one more piece of cardboard on top, right? And you just close up and make sure there's no light getting in it. So you're tricking the plant into thinking it's underground and it's winter, right? You know, the earth, if you go down, you know, about, you know, a foot or two into the ground, it's about 5 degrees Celsius or 8 degrees Celsius. Same temperature as a fridge, same temperature as a garage, right? And it's dark, and ideal conditions, it's not too wet, not too dry, right? So that's all you're doing, is you're convincing the parsnip that it's winter, that it's underground, and it's waiting for it to get warm so it can grow again. And as long as it thinks that's going on, it will keep, right? It won't keep forever, but it's November now, and I find that they tend to be good till about February, March, and they start to get a bit rubbery, but that doesn't affect the taste. And when you cook them, they get soft anyway, but if anything, when they get rubbery like that, they seem to taste even sweeter and better. So anyway, that's how I store them for the winter. I hope that helps you. If you haven't got yours out of the ground and you're living anywhere cold like it is here, get them out of the ground, because you saw me using that pickaxe. It's time to get them out of the ground, and it's time to get on with it. Hey, I just thought I'd do a little addendum to that video. It's Sunday and I'm editing it up, and I'm just anticipating the kinds of other questions people might have. So I've got all those parsnips in these 2 boxes, right? You can sort of see them. This is also how I store my carrots and how I store my potatoes and any sort of root vegetable. I store them this way. Right, so you can see them all nicely snuggled in there, and there's a piece of cardboard there, and then another layer and another layer and another layer, right? That's the idea. I got nice layer on top here to keep all the light out. You don't want anything to start growing on you. Right, and usually what I'll do is I'll put a couple pieces of newspaper over the very top. So this can still breathe and air can still get at it. And I'll stack them maybe 3 high. Anything more than that, they might sag, right? But now I just take them out as I need them. But you can see I still have some in this bucket here. And what I do, you know, these are basically stored for a long time, but these are basically what I would call, you know, short-term storage, or just being lazy. So all the broken ones and the smaller ones and the weird ones, right? All the ones that sort of aren't either are going to be used up quickly or aren't ideal for storage. Nothing wrong with that one. I don't know how that, maybe that's got a hole somewhere. I don't know how that one didn't make it in, but anyway. Basically just odds and sods, and also just what didn't fit in those boxes. Basically I don't have enough here for a box. So what I do is I just leave them like this in my garage. It's nice and cool in here. I throw you know, a paper bag or cardboard. I throw something over top of this to keep the light off of it, and I use these ones first. And they see, you know, they'll keep like this for about a month. You move them around a bit every once in a while, right? And just you know, basically come up with a meal plan to use a bunch of these. So, you know, if I was going to have a meal of these, I would fill a salad bowl with them and cut them up and roast them. So I use a fair amount in one go. So there's about 3 or 4 meals worth of parsnips in here, the way we eat them. So this is basically like a month. So I'm just, the only reason I'm walking you through this is just to explain that in certain aspects of this sort of thing you can be lazy, right? I'm being extremely lazy here. I'm just leaving them in this bucket, just fire them in the corner of the garage, and every week I'll come up with some excuse to have these at least once and cook a whole bunch, right? I've taken care to store these till they'll store for longer than that, right? But here I've just, this is all leftover ones, didn't fit, not enough room, broken, blah 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 blah. I use these ones up first, right? Also, I still got all these carrots to store, and I'll use the exact same approach, right? And that bears mentioning. So like the big ones like this, these are the ones that make it into storage. The little nubs like this and broken pieces and, you know, little things like that, they're gonna be part of Sunday dinner today, right? All the small ones, you use those up first because they don't keep as well. You want the big ones, right? Those are the big ones are the ones that keep well. So those are the ones that make it into storage. And the little nothing pieces, use them up right away. I'll probably put these in the crisper part of the fridge. I didn't grow a lot of carrots this year. Just made a mistake in my planning. So this is basically all the carrots. I've got a whole bunch of upstairs, about this much upstairs in my fridge right now. So I didn't grow as many as normal. Normally I'd have 2 boxes like this of carrots put in storage as well. I didn't do that this year, but I should have. Next year, always next year. All right, hope that helps. All right, so hope you found that useful, and if you did, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.